Welcome aboard the BK Escape Pod. That's right, it's the augmented and bionic podcast version of the live show you can hear Saturdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Eastern on 100.3 FM and AM 1450 WBHF Radio. You can stream the show live there Saturdays at WBHFradio.org or on the free Tunein app. Look out, here we go. Stand by for launch. Now, hold on, it's taking me a while to get to the microphone here. I'm trying to get things in order and walk around and make sure the show's recording in the background. And
did you need your walker?
Get over what I did Monday. I did on Labor Day. Something. Oh man, and I don't want to talk. I don't have a rant, but the little thing I have today, a little complaint that I have. And hey, good morning. It's BK on the air, by the way. I got to tell everybody. I get it like 20 minutes into the show, and then I introduce myself.
Oh, you're just doing the Rush Limbaugh thing. It's like, oh, you know who I am by now.
By the way, I am. Wish I made that money.
No kidding.
It'd be fun.
It's the one piece we lack.
Sunday. Sometimes you do something to yourself, and you know what I mean. You have a disc problem in your back from back in when you were in combat in Navy. So,
when I was in boot camp,
right? Which is a different kind of combat.
I was combating my DI.
Did you guys do? I meant to ask you this because I know the Army does it and several other branches of the military. Did you guys have to do the gas chamber thing and take your mask off in there and breathe it and all that stuff? Well, I bet that was pleasant, wasn't it? Wasn't that great? I hear that. I hear you feeling you're about to die, but you don't, and it's good. But you feel like you are.
Well, there's two people who are your instructors that keep their masks on because they know you can have problems.
Yeah.
So here's what they do. And I know you're going to get to your thing about your back, but just very quickly,
I've seen these videos.
This is what you do when you're in the military, and we find this fun. Only in retrospect. A lot of people call it abuse.
In hindsight, yeah.
So they were like, all right, gentlemen, we're going to get a good close shave before we head to the gas chamber. Now, there was a reason for this. They wanted you to understand how good the gas mask works. So they wanted a good, tight feel of the mask, you know?
Sure, yeah.
So you put the gas mask on, you get inside there, and this is like a vault, and like the... with the wheel, it's like
you're going to
oh my God, we're in the bowels of a metal building.
Never coming out again.
We look like a trash compactor. We're like,
right.
So anyway, all of a sudden they release the CS gas, and then you start feeling everywhere you shaved is burning because it's raw.
Oh no!
And then you're like, but you're breathing fine. You're like, oh my God, so the gas mask does work.
Yeah.
And then they go like, just to make sure you learn your lesson, we're going to take them off now. You have to say your name and your social security number or your SSN number.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, they brought us in groups of 12. I was number 11 of 12. So I'm like, I'm ready to die. By the time it's gotten to me, I'm like,
I hear it's like snot and saliva.
Oh my gosh!
Everything is crazy.
Every pore that could leak something starts leaking.
Because it's trying to get it out of you. Yeah.
Your eyes get so shut, and like you get out. Oh, and we're in Orlando in the middle of late July, early August.
So it's 110.
So we come outside, and the sun could not be brighter. Yep. And it's like I can't open my eyes. I don't know where I am.
And they're yelling at you. Open your eyes. Flap your arms. Flap your arms.
And it took a good 10 minutes before you started feeling it dissipate in the open air.
But for a while, you thought, I'm dying.
Oh yeah.
I can't breathe. It's just crazy.
And I will tell you, we were one of the last groups. I don't know if they've gone back to it, but I know for a while we found out that the new recruits were getting wintergreen mint spray because people were thinking it was cruel to expose you to tear gas.
Goodness knows the enemy is going to do that too, probably.
Oh yeah, that's why we had stress cards. When I was in, we actually had stress cards.
Really?
They were like, here, every recruit gets 3 of these. If you feel like you are just to the point where you just can't take it anymore,
sure.
Here's my stress card. You have to stop. DI in the middle. You could have been the screw-up for why you failed inspection.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Stress card. But you only get 3, so be careful. Guess who had all 3 still in his never-touched possession? I wasn't going to use a stress card.
Did you keep them? Do you still have them?
Oh, no. They got turned in at the end of my boot camp.
My dad was in the Army, and so yours was in the military, too. My dad was in the Army in the early 60s, and he said if they'd have given him a stress card, if he'd asked for a stress card or whatever, he would have been told what to do with it. Like, oh, you see this stress card that you have? When this exercise is over, eat that. Chew it up and swallow it and eat that. That's what you're going to do.
It's so funny we're talking about this because we just got invited to be on the Marine Corps Movie Minute podcast where they're on the end of Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah.
And the two guys that are doing this podcast are ex-Marines.
Right.
So we get talking, and I'm like, yeah, I was in from 91 to 97, and during Gulf War I, And they go, oh yeah, well, what was your MOS? I'm like, well, which is military occupational specialty. And I said, oh, I was a CT. And like, oh my God, we were CTs. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, did you go to Corey Station? And like, of course, because that was the one place that was a multidiscipline base that taught the intelligence community. They kept it very small. And I was like, oh my God. And so we started talking for 10 minutes, and Walt's in the background going, yeah, I wasn't in the military.
I was in the Boy Scouts.
My dad was FBI.
I was in the Boy Scouts.
No, we had a blast, and we were talking these exact same war stories.
You worked for the branch that was their boss, the Navy.
Yes.
So the Navy.
We signed your checks.
If the Marines needed to go somewhere, they hitched the ride with the Navy.
Absolutely.
Right?
But then they were quick to point out that you always gave us your hand-me-down gear.
Well, the reason I kind of brought that up, and you kind of had a back problem in the Navy.
Yes.
And you know what a lower back problem is.
I had something that happened in the Navy that then showed itself later.
Right. The Navy aggravated it, right?
Yeah.
Something happened to me this past Sunday that I wouldn't have been able to sit here in the chair and do the show. Something happened. I don't know what I did. Sometimes something will happen to you, and it's like, oh, I did something. I moved weird. It immediately happened. No,
I got up to change the channel.
Snuck on me. I passed gas a little too hard, and I strained a muscle.
I tried to lean, and
I sneezed. I
oh my God!
muscle.
Yes.
Something happened. Something crept up on me around noon on this past Sunday, and I don't know what it was, but it's the lower left side of my back, shooting down into my leg. May have been something pressing on something. You never know as a layman and not a doctor. You don't know if it's nerve or muscle or both.
Right.
Because sometimes if it's nerve, it'll affect you there, then it'll shoot down your leg because nerves do that. It'll pinch one and it'll affect one.
Well, that's how I knew it was lower back because my left leg would go to sleep sitting in the car.
There were some times when I couldn't walk, but I could lie down and be comfortable, and then the next day I could lie down and hurt and then walk and be comfortable and stand up. So don't know what happened. Had to go to the doctor Tuesday. Just completely ruined my Labor Day. Couldn't do anything. So I don't know what happened to me. I'm better now. I'm feeling better, but I'm still taking something left over that they gave me. So
well, good. Glad you're out and about. But, those...
I don't know. It just was terrible.
Lower back injuries are just a pain. No pun intended.
And it's even more painful when they tell you, we don't know what's causing it. Because sometimes when it involves the spine and your back and stuff, my mom's still got a chronic back pain that they've looked at, operated on her and everything, and they still really kind of don't know what it is. She's just on painkillers. My mother's is on morphine for the back pain. And I'm like, well, Mom, can that be healthy to take all the time? You need to try to find a way to fix this.
I don't know, but it's fun when I do.
She really, I love it when she's cooking, though. That just really adds new ingredients to stuff. So, yeah, so that it's not fun. So I don't want to. I just don't.
Well, the crazy thing for me, and I know this is coming up to the break, because of the lower back problem I have, and for those I don't have a problem. I have a semi-ruptured L4 in my lower disc, and I have a full ruptured L5 in my lumbar. Those are two things that I will have forever. And at some point, I will have to address them more. But my docs have all said, look, if you stay at the right normal weight, if you keep exercising, you learn the proper ways to lift things, and you don't run. I can run short term. I can run if I have to. If I was cast in a movie and they go, okay, action, run there, I could do that.
Right.
I'm not running in a marathon. Right. And I'm not going to run every day because that impact will just flare that up. And once it's flared, it's real hard to shrink it back down.
You can run for office, too. I mean, that's okay to do that.
I could.
If you want to do that. So, yeah.
But I would do that slowly.
We've got a lot of nostalgic geekiness talk coming up. I've got all kinds of stories coming today. On this day in history today is going to take, almost the whole segment because there's so much going on in history. A lot of anniversaries this week. Star Trek's premiere, the TV show Star Trek had a premiere. A lot of Saturday morning television shows. We'll get into all of that coming up. It's BK on the Air. We'll go over the golden age of TV when we return.
How come you cook so many vegetables, Mom?
Well, someday I see a tall young man with broad shoulders.
Me?
You. And I do everything I can now to help you get there. Good food, rest, exercise, and also Chalk's vitamins with iron.
Iron?
Because you're growing, you need as much iron as your father. And these help make sure you get it.
I like Chalks. And you, Mom?
Chalks and Chalks Bugs Bunny with iron. Hey, Sergeant, you want some of this new Cool Whip topping?
Later, pile. I'm getting in shape in case our Cool Whip contest winner's a girl. Anybody can win a trip to Hollywood and a guest appearance on the show.
With us?
Yeah. What a prize. Just send your name and address on the side label or write the words Cool Whip on a piece of paper. Get full details at your grocer's freezer. Over 1,000 other prizes, too.
Cool Whip. Mmm. Shazam.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. I Love Lucy ran from 1951 to 57 for a total of 180 episodes. Its vast success enabled Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball to buy their own production and filming company, which they branded Desilu. While Desi mainly handled the business and technical aspects for the company, Lucy is credited with having the artistic foresight for the development of new TV shows. One such series was the iconic original Star Trek. After their split, Lucy bought out Desi's holdings in the company, making her the president and the very first female head of a Hollywood studio. In February of 1966, her board of directors unanimously voted to pass on Gene Roddenberry's Wagon Train to the Stars, even after 2 pilot episodes had been produced. In a moment of intuitive genius, Lucy decided to use her executive power to veto their decision, and with a nod of her head, Star Trek got the green light. One of the naysayer board members was later quoted as saying, "If it were not for Lucy, there would be no Star Trek today." The rest became television history, and what an incredible future Star Trek was to have. Although the original series only lasted for 3 seasons, in syndication, the popularity of the show literally took off. It has since spawned 9 spin-offs and 13 feature films, making it one of the highest-grossing media franchises of all time. I wonder what Lucy would have thought of that, let alone the vast amount of success the past 50 years of Star Trek has achieved. My guess is that she would have considered it fascinating. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV Trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube and Facebook at Golden Rage of TV and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. And now back to BK on the air.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Yeah, that's not quite exactly the Star Trek that people, fans will remember.
Is it the public domain version?
The public domain kind of sounds like it. The tones of the notes changed just a little different. That's the animated series. It started in 1973 or 74.
I used to
Star
watch
Trek,
it.
the animated series from Filmation, every Saturday came on NBC. And it's another, every time the original series of Star Trek celebrates its anniversary, which is in September 1966, the animated series premiered on the same day in 1973 or 4. I think it was 3 and ran until 1974, or it was in 74. 74. Okay, so they all share an anniversary, which is nice. And what's great is Filmation Studios used to take a lot of TV shows and turn them into animated shows. They did They did My Favorite Martian. They did Gilligan's Island.
Mm-hmm. I remember the Gilligan's Island
cartoon, and they were really good about getting the original cast members back to do the voices for most of the characters, which were great. But that lent it a little more of a authenticity to it. Authenticity. Yeah, if I can say that, I can't say it to the show because it sounded like the show. I always considered the Star Trek, the animated series, the 4th season of Star Trek because this animated series won an Emmy for excellence
in writing,
storytelling, and whatnot as a television show, which meant back then may have been a little over the kids' heads, but it was still done very well.
Was it Filmation who also did the Globetrotters, or was that a different group? Was it Hanna-Barbera?
I think Hanna-Barbera did the Globetrotters. They were on ABC, but again, got a couple of voices. One of the voices on the Globetrotters for Curly was Scatman Crothers.
Yeah,
I
was like, why does that guy sound like Hong Kong Phooey?
And he is. He does. So
do you know as a kid, and maybe your ear was more attuned for it because you recognize who. But it took until I was an adult because I don't necessarily think of the voice as being the same for different characters. I'm like, well, that's Hong Kong Phooey. That's Meadowlark Lemon. That's whatever. I don't. And then it's like, wait a minute, it's the same guy. Oh my God, it's the same guy.
I was with you, but I did recognize one. I got to recognize the same voice, and after a while, even as a kid, I didn't know what his name was, but I still would recognize Casey Kasem's voice. It was so. He didn't change his voice a lot. It kind of stayed that same tonality or way he would talk for every character he'd do, and I would start to go, that sounds like the guy does Shaggy doing Robin on Batman. That sounds like the guy on Josie and the Pussycats. And I started to think, oh, okay, this guy's the same. I don't know what his name is, but he's the same guy.
Well, because I never even bothered reading credits for cartoons when I was a kid. I mean, I knew some of them. I knew Mel Blanc because it's there, but you just don't even think about it. You just, hey, I want to watch the next cartoon.
Oh, as a kid, I had no idea that Mel Blanc did all those voices. I would have been blown away. When you find out later. When you really find out, and some people are surprised when they really check to see how many voices Mel Blanc did, meaning he crossed over into, not only did he do the bulk of the Warner Brothers stuff, he crossed over into, he did the voice for Barney on the Flintstones. He did the voice for Tweaky on Buck Rogers. He just got out and did all kinds of voices everywhere else. And what's the genius of Mel Blanc is you have to agree with me. You have to be talented to do a lot of voices, and then remember that one. Like, okay, what voice did I do for this guy? Oh, it's that one. I got to do that one. But when you take a cartoon like Bugs Bunny and you have Bugs and Daffy in a cartoon together, and then you go, okay, there's a scene coming up where I have to do Bugs doing Daffy's voice. I have to be Bugs Bunny doing an imitation of Daffy Duck's voice. And he did that.
That's amazing.
And that's just crazy talent.
I'm sure there's video out there, but it would be so cool to see him in the studio and then see split screen the cartoon,
right?
And just
and match it up during the actual recording.
Unbelievable the amount of voice talent that exists.
If you've never seen the clip, there's a great interview with him. I don't know if it was one of the last ones he ever did, but one of his last appearances, I think, David Letterman, back in the mid '80s, early '80s, of him just being on David's show, and he was a jazz, and he was talking to him. It was a fantastic appearance by Mel, and trivia. In case anyone's, and this has been written a lot, so I'm sure it's true. When he did Bugs Bunny's voice, sometimes Bugs would be crunching on a carrot, and Mel had to eat something. Well, Mel was allergic to carrots, so he used celery.
Oh,
when he recorded, it didn't matter. It's an audio thing, but just knowing that when you hear Bugs talking, he's chomping on celery, which
that's cool.
I'm sure rabbits eat celery too. It's a plant, so. That's not a big change.
And it may have made a more satisfying sounding crunch in the microphone.
That's right. We know celery's a lot crunchier. That crunchy
because when you snap into a carrot, it's like a really harsh and it's done. Whereas celery is like all the way through.
Aren't sounds fun when you use them with a microphone and you're doing Foley work? We've done that before. You and I have worked on independent film before, and one in particular we did together. We shot you in the woods as a World War II veteran walking in the woods, and we needed some sounds of you walking in the woods, and we used the onion peels to crunch like you're in the leaves. You use sometimes that noise for fire crackling. There's so many different things. We needed a noise of you falling to the ground, and I think our friend Ethan and I we threw a bag of sod or something just on the concrete floor, and it went thump. And it just Foley work is in itself a whole different thing. You think your movie's done? No. You got to go into post-production now and get all this stuff fixed.
That's why there's an Academy Award for sound design and for sound editing, because there's two separate things.
Because that's fun. Well, sound means a lot here on this show, because if it wasn't for sound, you wouldn't be able to hear us. If there was no sound, you'd hear. Yeah, that right there.
Well,
to some people, that'd be more preferable, I think. 770-386-1450 is our number. I've got time to get into this story. Let's talk about this. One of the big movies, and by the way, isn't it great that the theaters are open? Your daughter called you and wants you to go see Tenet with her. She's seen it, and she wants to go see it again. It's back. Everything is back, and the movies are starting up at full blast. This is going to be – the fall is going to be our summer movie this year.
Okay.
It's going to be for summer movies in the fall, obviously. Well, Wonder Woman 1984 has been pushed back to Christmas. This came out yesterday from Variety, the superhero sequel starring Gal Gadot, which was expected to debut on October the 2nd, will now touch down on December the 25th.
Or the French way of saying it, Gadot.
Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
And that's the way I was pronouncing it, too, and I was told I was wrong. I'm like,
really?
yeah.
She pronounces the T because she's Israeli.
So. Yeah, that may be different. Yeah.
I sit
isn't
corrected.
There a stage play called Waiting for Godot?
There is a Waiting for Godot.
Warner Brothers. That's what I've been doing for years as far as Gal goes. Warner Brothers recently took a risk in releasing Tenet on the big screen, marking the first major blockbuster to debut since movie theaters closed in March, as we remember, due to this pandemic. The $200 million budgeted film from director Christopher Nolan launched over Labor Day weekend in the U.S. to a muted $20 million. Well, I mean, what can you say? They're just opening. Sources say the studio was waiting to assess ticket sales for Tenet before making a decision about moving Wonder Woman. With the delay of Wonder Woman, which is called Wonder Woman 1984, set in the year 1984, Tenet won't face much competition among ticket buyers, and it's not so far, and could see a boost in sales in the coming weeks. For now, Disney and Marvel's comic book adventure Black Widow on November 6th is the next major film on the calendar. That's the one I'm looking forward to as well. In the meantime, smaller movies like Sony's romantic comedy called The Broken Hearts Gallery plan to open this weekend, I guess as of today or maybe last night. The sci-fi epic Dune, also from Warner Brothers, is still slated to open December the 18th, a week prior to Wonder Woman 1984. But there's a good chance that that film, starring Timothée Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, and Zendaya, isn't it Zendaya the girl from Spider-Man that played Mary Jane's? I think that's his girlfriend.
I think so, maybe.
It will be pushed into 2021 to avoid clashing for attention from audiences. Now, when the first Dune trailer dropped earlier this week, it conspicuously lacked a release date. There was no if you saw it, there was no release date at the end. Now, nearly 70% of the movie theaters in the U.S. have opened, but important markets like New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco remain closed. Box office analysts suggest that it's unwise to release big-budgeted movies until those areas can welcome patrons. The first Wonder Woman in 2017 collected over $400 million in North America alone, and the sequel would struggle to even come close to that figure without some of the country's biggest markets to play in. So Warner Brothers found massive success over the holidays with its DC properties. Aquaman, which released in 2018, generated over $1 billion after hitting theaters around Christmas time. The hope, barring a second wave of coronavirus, which we hope we don't have, is that theaters in New York and Los Angeles will open by then. So, hey, I'm looking forward to all the new movies coming out. By the way, and you and I discussed this online in a very limited way. I saw the trailer for Dune, and to me, if I close my eyes and listen to it, I'm like, sounds like the dialogue from the first movie from the 80s. That's fine because it's the same story about Paul Atreides and Dune. But the trailer left me a little flat because it was rather drab.
See, I don't
know. Maybe it's on purpose. I don't know the look of it.
I think you wanted to see Mad Max Fury Road colors. I liked it.
No, we'll talk about it.
Jenga, Jenga. You take a block from the bottom and you put it on top. You take a block from the middle and you put it on top. That's how you build a tower, you just don't stop. You gotta build that tower putting blocks on top. And it teeters and it totters as you build it all up. It weebles and it wobbles, but you don't give up. You take a block from the bottom and you put it on top. You take a block from the middle and you put it on top. Till someone knocks it over and that's when you stop. But you start all over putting blocks on top. Jenga from Irwin.
The first electronic football games like these were for only one player.
End run.
But something was missing.
Can I play? Wait your turn.
Then along came head-to-head electronic football by Coleco.
Now we can play at the same time. I'm offense. I'm defense.
With head-to-head, you're really in the game. A power sweep. He fights through for the tackle. You pass. He blitzes. Intercepts.
This is real competition.
Why settle for a one-player game when you can have it all? Play alone, against the computer, or for real competition, play
head-to-head.
Why settle for less?
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's BK on the air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the Tunein radio app.
He said hello and put me on hold. To say the least, the cat was cold. He said,
yeah, that's what they used to say to me when I went and applied for those radio jobs way back in the day. Don't call us, we'll call you, and we know exactly what... We know exactly what that means just when it comes to any kind of a thing that you're trying to get back with anybody. You know?
Must you stay? Can't you go?
I got to go. No. Yeah. Well, it's time that we... Where is it? Oh, there it is. Flash the audience.
Where is it? In my hand.
Get over this back pain. I'm glad I'm over it. So,
yeah. Do you having a hard time stretching all the way across the keyboard?
Yeah, I had a hard time lifting my left arm on Monday. I'm like, just lifting my left arm up above my head was getting painful in my lower back. I'm like, what is going on back there that's giving me the grumblies in the back? You know, it's terrible.
Enjoy it. It'll come back again sometime.
I don't want
it
to come back. No, don't tell me that. Give me some hope.
All right. Well, you know what? I've got the first news.
You could have told me it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. It's never going to come back.
I don't lie to people. Dude, it's going to suck for the rest of your life.
You're going to be in pain, man.
Just start stocking up the Advil when you see it on sale.
Mine's a leave.
Buy those gel packs. If you come look at our freezer, you open up the freezer, like there's a top drawer, and there's like 7 different sizes of gel packs.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for the knee, for the elbow, for the back.
We both at home. We don't have a medicine chest. We have a medicine room.
It's like the Velcro to hold it in place. Yeah. You open up the medicine cabinet, and where Scrooge McDuck gold just pours out everything. We have like pills just falling out.
Terrible. That's terrible. It gives me nothing.
What do you eat for breakfast?
Advil.
Advil and tap water.
What do you want on your breakfast? Crushed up Aleve on my cereal.
Can I get you to crush up some Aleve? Because you can take Aleve and Advil at the same time because they do 2 different pain receptors.
Thanks. That's just great.
You don't learn that until you start getting them aches and pains.
Thanks a lot. Well, the doctor, the first thing he said was, "Mr. Bill Berry, you are getting older." And I'm like, well, after he wiped the blood away from his nose, he just prescribed me some.
I don't know which is worse when they say you're getting older or you're not young anymore.
Right.
Neither one sounds good.
Don't say that to me. Number one, I know it's true. There's no reason to state the obvious, Mom. That's what Mom tells me.
All right. Well, this story comes from UPI. A gambling website is offering $500 to a winning applicant willing to serve as a professional cheeseburger tester.
Here's another one of those food things to get paid for. Why can't I do that?
But I could very well do this. We actually did a Best Burger in Bartow several years ago here at the radio station.
I love to be a barbecue judge, too. I want to get into stuff like that.
BonusFinder.com, based in Amsterdam, said it is seeking a cheeseburger taster to find the best burger in the United States by grading burgers on criteria including patty texture, patty seasoning, bun softness, bun taste, complexity of flavors used, relish and or sauce taste, cheese flavor, and creaminess. The value for the money. Also looking for value for the money and the quality of the ingredients.
See, we can do value for the money.
Because you could have 2 best burgers. One, hey, for the price, this is the best for this price. But if you've got $20 you want to spend on a burger, check this one out.
We're good at pinching pennies for good food. I think we can do that.
Company said the randomly selected winner will be announced October 9th. The taster reviews will be published on the Bonus Finder website. The company's Canadian site, bonusfinder.ca, is offering a similar position to find Canada's top cheeseburger.
Really, eh? All right.
Oh, no do to boot it.
That sounds great. There's a mouse in the house. Let it out.
By the way, have you seen Rick Moranis come back out for a commercial?
With Ryan Reynolds?
Yes.
I didn't see it, but I saw that it's on the internet. I haven't watched it yet. Is it?
Yeah, it's about a cell phone. It's like,
should I watch it?
It's like, you brought me out here for this? It's like, well, yeah. He goes, well, actually, I just wanted to meet you. It's very much like Ryan Reynolds said, we should have Rick Moranis in this commercial. Like, well, why? So I get to meet Rick Moranis.
He should have said at the end, who does your taxes?
Who does your taxes?
Been great. I got the next news. Oh, boy. Listen to this from UPI. A 94-year-old Virginia man with a lifelong love of juicy fruit has received, it's juicy fruit gum, by the way, not just fruit that's juicy by kids that don't know what I'm talking about, has received permission from the Mars Wrigley Company to have his casket painted to resemble the pack of the chewing gum. Yes, you heard that right. Sammy Oakley.
Show up in the funeral home, and that's the world's biggest pack of gum. Nope, that's just Grandpa.
Sammy Oakley, president of Oakley's funeral service, was asked by friend Sutty Economy, that's his name, Sutty Economy, 94.
Starting to become more clear.
To be buried in a casket painted to resemble the pack of juicy fruit. Economy, who was hospitalized due to a heart condition 3 weeks ago, is currently being treated at the Virginia Veterans Care Clinic, where this condition was reported to be improving. Sutty developed a love for Wrigley's chewing gum while serving in World War II, when the company took juicy fruit and other varieties of gum off the market so there would be enough to distribute to the U.S. service members. He brought his love of juicy fruit home with him, friends and family said. Oakley, who has been friends with the Economy family for about 45 years, said he determined that he would need permission from the Mars Wrigley Company to use the juicy fruit imagery on the casket. The company initially refused the request, leading the funeral home to post about the efforts on Facebook. The post went viral, and a member of the public was able to get Oakley contact information on the company's president. Oakley said he received a call from Vice President of Mars Wrigley a few days later, giving permission. The president reached out the next week to tell Oakley that he was being sent some products for the Economy family. I wonder what that they're sending them. The family received 250 packs of juicy fruit gum, Oakley said. Economy's brother John said the family is now seeking an artist to paint the casket.
Excellent.
So,
there you
weird
go. See?
Story, but who cares? That's kind of neat.
Every now and then social media can do something good.
Right now, on the spot, I'm going to hit you. if you could make your casket look like anything, what would Alan Sanders' casket look like?
Beer.
Like a beer bottle or a beer logo or something?
Or scotch.
Or like put a logo on it or something?
Oh, yeah, scotch.
Like a scotch.
Ooh. Yeah.
You're going to go with scotch?
Yeah,
Does that
I'll go
be a
with
certain
scotch.
kind? I mean, what are you talking about?
Right now I would say a Glenfiddich, maybe an 18-year.
Make it look like one of those bottles?
Because I want to make sure it's legal.
The nerd in me would say... I want it to look like Spock's casket from Star Trek 3.
Oh, torpedo tube.
Cool. Yeah,
that might be
that's
cool.
the nerd in me. But the practical joker in me that may dig this up later, I want my box to look exactly like a nuclear warhead. That way, they dig me up or something happened. They're like, hey, wait a minute, what is this?
Actually, I would like to be buried in a throne. So that's the only time I can ever say I sat there as people came to see me.
Could
you imagine?
Like when Conan discovers the dead king and Conan the Barbarian.
I want to be just propped up.
Still.
I just want to be propped up. I want to have a drink in one hand and a scepter in the other, and people come to pay their last respects.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only way you and I would ever get it.
That's exactly right.
That's true. You're very right.
All right. I've got the next news. This also from UPI, the Strong National Museum of Play. Yes, the Strong National Museum of Play.
So we know there is one.
Is in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
And they've got the 2020 finalists for induction into the National Toy Hall of Fame.
We talk about this a lot, yeah.
Here they are. I don't know some of these. Baby Nancy. Okay. Bingo. I know Bingo.
Yep.
You would think that would have been in there by
they're
now.
Putting Bingo in there, okay.
Yeah. Briar Horses. Don't know that. Jenga, I know.
Jenga, yeah.
Light Bright, oh yeah.
Light Bright needed to already be in there.
Here's one that we both will recognize: Masters of the Universe, the toy line.
Wow, and I think that was Mattel. I think did that.
Yes, and here's another one: the My Little Pony toy line.
Ones that you and I were familiar with, but hopefully didn't have.
A game that Walt apparently loves to play because every time we have a guest, he always talks about sitting down and playing a game of Risk. But Risk is going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, and a board game. Okay, good. Now, on a side note, my Masters of the Universe toys did do battle with my sister's Rainbow Bright, My Little Pony stuff. And they
did they ride the pony into battle?
Sometimes it was a draw. Sometimes they didn't win the battle, which is great. Well, they distracted her with the rainbow colors and stuff. And He-Man went, I can't see.
Let's see. We've also got Sidewalk Chalk makes it into the Play Hall of Fame.
Okay, good.
Sorry, the game. You ever play Sorry?
I've never played Sorry before. I'm sorry.
Yahtzee, which I can't believe Yahtzee wasn't already in there.
Yeah,
that's like a long-standing game.
There, yeah.
Remember these? The Tamagotchi.
Yep. Didn't have them, but
the little digital pets that the Japanese came up with. You can't have your own dog? Have a Tamagotchi.
And
you got to feed it. You got to play with it.
Read out on a little screen like an egg or something. Yeah. Okay.
Had to take care of your pet. These 12 toys represent the wide scope of playthings, from simple sidewalk chalk that has its roots in ancient times to Baby Nancy, which proved a turning point in the representation of race in dolls, to the more recent, highly innovative Tamagotchi, said Christopher Bench, the Strong's vice president for collection. Whether old or new or simple or high-tech, all 12 of these toy finalists greatly influenced the world of play.
I wonder if there's a way to check the older ones that have been put into these Hall of Fames before. I wonder if any of the Star Wars Kenner stuff is in there, and I wonder if any of the Mego Star Trek figures back in the 70s.
I gotta imagine they've got something online you could look.
I think I will. I might take some research. I do that sometimes.
Look up the Strong Museum of Play.
Yeah, sounds like a place I'd like to go and check out. Hey, I found out that Asheville, North Carolina has a pinball museum up there, and I haven't been able to see it during the COVID, but that's definitely on my bucket list. It's BK on the air. We'll be back.
I'm running away from home. My parents are mean. Where'll you go? I'm not sure, but I'll show them.
That's right. You'll show them how mean you can be.
Shipwreck!
Isn't it better to try to solve problems instead of running away from them?
I could try talking to my parents again.
Yeah, tell them how you feel. And remember, running away
leads nowhere. Now I know. And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu. It's a knife that no kitchen should be without. The Ginsu can cut a slice of bread so thin you can almost see through it. It cuts meat better than an electric knife and goes through frozen food as though it were melted butter. The Ginsu is so sharp it can cut through a tin can and still slice a tomato like this. It can chop wood and still remain razor sharp. What's more, it's a knife that will last forever. You get the Ginsu knife, the matching carving fork, the versatile 6-in-1 kitchen tool, a set of 6 steak knives, and the spiral slicer. You get them all, guaranteed in writing for 50 years, for only $9.95. It's the most incredible knife offer ever. Here's how to order.
Call toll-free 1-800-835-2246 or save COD charges by sending $9.95 to Ginsu, Box 6688, Chicago. You get the Ginsu knife, matching carving fork, 6-in-1 kitchen tool, 6 steak knives, and spiral slicer. This is the original Ginsu, the only knife offer with a 50-year guarantee. Don't accept imitations. Order now.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Oh, we're back. BK on the air. Thank you, Barbara, for coming by the studio. She does it as many times as she can. She certainly doesn't have to, but she knows. She can tell when two guys like to eat food, the way they talk about it and whatnot. She brings us by treats just because she's a wonderful,
she doesn't have to, and she's an awesome listener.
And I'm glad that she's local and she comes by and waves. When she waves in the window, we know something special is coming because Barbara brings it by. I've got one more news to get through here from UPI. An 80-year-old British hiker who went missing during a hailstorm was reunited with his family. Isn't that a nice story? Mm-hmm. But when he was reunited was the funny part. He arrived at the press conference to publicize his disappearance. Wouldn't that be great if you've been lost and you walk in on your own press conference for being lost and there you are?
You're like walking in the back like, what's going on?
Isn't that great? What's all these people doing here?
And you start hearing like, if anybody has any information as to the whereabouts of Jim Smith, like, do you walk up at that point or you go
walk back and go, wait a minute.
You do the whole Homer thing where you kind of disappear into the hedges?
Well, North Yorkshire police said it's not Jim Smith, it's Harry Harvey. 80 was reported missing at 1:30 p.m. on Sunday after becoming separated from his hiking partner in northeast England's Yorkshire Dales. Police, Royal Air Force personnel, and mountain rescuers conducted a 4-day search of the area to locate the elderly hiker. The search was called off on Wednesday when Harvey, having been spotted by a wildlife photographer, showed up at the Tan Hill Inn, a pub located inside the park, during a press conference planned by his family and rescuers to spread the word of his disappearance. Harvey's son joked now that at the conference that his father was grounded. That's it, Dad. You're not going out anymore.
Listen, old man, instead of young man. Listen, old man, you have to stay at home. Yeah. Do you understand how irresponsible you were?
Walking up during the press conference, you know how silly that makes us? Look,
that to me would be a perfect scene in a comedy or a movie.
It would. And if that's really what happened, that's really funny.
It's almost like the scene in Last Crusade when they're all looking over the cliff.
They think Indy's
and it's
dead.
like, oh my God. And then
he just went over on a tank. There's
his
no
dad
way.
goes, I never got a chance to tell him anything. All I needed was 10 minutes. and then he comes over and he's like, what are you guys all looking at?
It's almost like when he's looking down at him.
I love that scene.
And then you got to follow through though. Then they're like, "We're so glad you're okay." Blah blah blah. Let's go. Let's get on with the adventure. And they run off, and he falls.
And he's just like,
and he sits there. And then what happens? His hat
comes
flies
blowing
back up.
The first time in all of the movies, of course, that's the joke in filming. How many times the hat would come off? They allowed the hat to come off to show I'm going over the cliff.
That was brilliant. I love that because with Indiana Jones, you can do that.
Yes,
that's perfect.
Well, you can push it too far with Indiana Jones.
Yes, and they have once. But we won't get into that, will we?
Right, no.
Well, talking about movies and whatnot, we talked about last weekend the new Bond movies coming out. Well, someone who was in one of our Bond films passed away this week.
You're full of surprises, Contessa.
So are you, Mr. Bond. Do you always arm yourself for rendezvous?
Occasionally, I seem to be accident prone. I'll take that if you don't mind.
You're very sure of yourself, aren't you? Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
I can think of something more sociable to do. Let's stop playing games. Who was that man in your room?
You're hurting me.
I thought that was the idea tonight. Now, who was he?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can be a lot more persuasive, Contessa.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, that's the On Her Majesty's Secret Service from 1969. George Lazenby as James Bond. Back in the Bond films when you could actually slap somebody and no one said anything. Back then, of course, you know, I don't have a problem with someone getting slapped, especially if they're about to kill you or you're going to be killed by them. It doesn't really matter to me who they are. or whatnot. Don't be slapping people. That's Diana Rigg as the Bond lady in that film. Dame Diana Rigg, star of Game of Thrones and the Avengers television series, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service, dead at 82. This is from Tyler McCarthy at Fox News. Rigg's agent Simon Bresford said that she died Thursday morning at home with her family. Rigg's daughter, Rachel Sterling, said that she died of cancer that was diagnosed back in March. Now, born Enid Diana Elizabeth Rigg on December 20th, 1938, Rigg grew up in India before returning to the UK to attend boarding school. Shortly after completing her schooling, she enrolled in the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in 1955, where her long and successful career in acting began. In recent years, she was perhaps best known for her role as Lady Olenna in the no-nonsense matriarch of House Tyrell and HBO's Game of Thrones. I've got to see Game of Thrones. I still haven't watched that show yet at all, and I really need to see it.
You know, once you get over the shock value of what some of the story plots are, it's brilliant until the last season.
It's hard to shock me now. It really is hard to shock me. However, prior to that, she was one of the co-stars of the popular Avengers TV show. That's right, kids. There were Avengers before the Marvel Comics Avengers, guys. This was a British secret agent group called the Avengers. And she played Agent Emma Peel in the late 60s alongside Patrick McNee, bowler-hatted John Steed. The pair was an impeccably dressed duo who fought villains and traded quips on a show whose mix of adventure and humor was enduringly influential. Other television roles include the Duchess of Beluche in a period drama Victoria, and Rigg starred alongside her daughter in the gentle British sitcom Detectorists. I haven't seen that either.
Was she in Doctor Who as well?
I don't know if she was in Doctor Who or not.
Or maybe a guest on one of the Doctor.
Rigg spent several years in the 60s as a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company. How'd you like to have that under your belt, being part of that?
That's a high mark in your resume.
And combined screen work with a major stage career. She had several acclaimed roles in the 90s as London's Alameda Theatre, including Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and the title role in a Greek tragedy called Medea. Rigg won a Tony Award for Medea on Broadway and was nominated on 3 other occasions, most recently in 2018 for playing Mrs. Higgins in My Fair Lady just not too long ago. And that's another big role.
Talented woman.
When it came to film, though, Rigg set herself above the average Bond girl by having the accolade of being the only woman to ever marry the intrepid British agent with a license to kill James Bond. For a little while, not very long, she was Mrs. James Bond. On Your Majesty's Secret Service.
Well, my second oldest, the one who wants me to go see Tenet with her, is in the car heading to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Free plug, Starbucks. You should be advertising with us locally. She wants to know if you want anything. She's getting me a cup of coffee. She's like, ask BK, does he want anything?
That's nice of her to do that. Now, which one is it? Which daughter is it? Now, which one? Remind me which one worked at Appalachian Grill.
That was Ashton.
Okay. See, I know you have 2 daughters.
Okay.
I can never tell them apart, and they're not even twins. So that's the problem. I can't do that. Even Susan's daughters, I can't. Yeah. If you have 2 of them, I get them mixed up sometimes.
Well, this is, you say Susan, there are kids, but I mean, this is technically Susan's eldest.
Tell her I'm fine, and I appreciate the offer.
So you're good.
Tell her, thank you very much.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about me, but I appreciate it like she wouldn't believe that her offering to do that.
And she's bringing the puppies with her, so we might see them in the car unless she tries to bring them out.
I'll interview one of them. I'm good at that with dogs.
Because
I can translate.
You know, they said we can't allow people in here, but they never said we couldn't bring puppies in here.
I didn't see animals on that sign in the window. So.
No.
Now I got a quote here. I got a quote here on Facebook. I'm follow George Lazenby on Facebook. Here's his statement on Facebook about the passing of Diana Rigg, whom co-starred with him in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He says, "I am so sad to hear of the death of Diana Rigg. She undoubtedly raised my acting game when we made On Her Majesty's Secret Service together in 1968 and 69. I remember the press conference in London knowing that she was going to play my wife. We had fun together on the set of the movie in Switzerland and Portugal. Her depth of experience really helped me. We were good friends on the set. Much was made of our supposed differences, but that was the press looking for a news story. I was sorry to have lost my wife in the film at the end as James Bond. The death of Contessa created a memorable cinema moment over 50 years ago. As my new bride, Tracy Bond, I wept for her loss. Now, upon hearing upon Diana's death, I weep again. My deepest condolences to her family. Love, George Lazenby." So... And, I remember that. I remember a lot of people saying, oh, George Lazenby and Diana Rigg, they're fighting on the set and they argue and they can't get along with each other. Oh, and Diana, before they do kissing scenes, she eats a lot of onions. just to get him back and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I've heard interviews with them over the years, and I'm like, they're like, that was much ado about nothing. That was just the press. You know, doesn't the press always look for something bad all the time if they're latching onto it? I remember them even saying Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner fought like cats and dogs on the Star Trek set back in the 60s. And they're like, they were both in an interview, and they said, did we do that? He goes, we might have had an argument here and there, but every time they hear something, they're like, oh, wait a minute.
Rumor mongers, gossip columnists, they look for... You and I have had
bless their hearts.
You and I have argued on air over a movie. I could just imagine somebody going, on-air talents decide to go at it, and in the middle of on-air interview. I'm like, wait, what?
They went out in a fist fight in the parking lot.
You know, you can overhype and you can oversell anything. By the way, she did play Winifred Gillyflower in an episode of Doctor Who.
So
I wanted to confirm that because I thought she was
one of the classic Doctor Who episodes. I wonder who Doctor Who was in that episode. I wonder which era that is. I'm sure Doctor Who fan would know that because I have a lot of Doctor Who fans.
Well, it came out.
Yeah. It might have been Tom Baker in the 70s. He was one of the
I can't tell which one this is, but she played Winifred Gillyflower.
But I'm going to say something. We talked about Bond last week. The new movie's coming out. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the Bond film that everyone loves to hate because it's got George Lazenby in it. He's a model. He was an actor, whatnot. I'm going to give everyone a James Bond challenge.
Okay.
You challenged me to go back and watch Tenet because Inception.
Inception.
You said go back and watch Inception because I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan. His movies, I don't know, there's something about them. But I haven't seen it but once, and I was very tired and fell asleep at an amusement park.
And that can taint you because my wife still doesn't want to rewatch Fury Road because she had a bad headache, and so she didn't really enjoy it, so she thinks she's not going to enjoy rewatching it.
I will challenge everybody who's even a casual James Bond fan. Now, James Bond lovers love all the films because they're James Bond fans, and they see something good in all of them. Go back and rewatch On Her Majesty's Secret Service and pay extra attention as well since Diana Rigg has passed away. You know, notice her performance in that as the slightly eccentric, depressed, in love with suicide because of her problems in it. Tracy, who falls in love with James Bond in the movie. Watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service again and give it another try. The action sequences in it, Telly Savalas' Blofeld, the way it's directed, the way it's made, it is a great Bond movie. Whether or not he had a good performance as Bond is
we can argue about what's good or not. I didn't like the fact when he was on the beach and he comes to a screeching halt with his brakes, but the funny part is on that first opening scene, he's like, well, this doesn't happen to the other guy.
This never happened to the other fellow. And they
I love that little point at himself.
We're going to address for 1 second that they know. We're like, we know, this is not Sean Connery. And
right.
Just did that and then moved on. So I thought
that was brilliant.
That was really good story. Diana Rigg, be sorely missed. What a great talent. And she was fantastic. It's BK on the air. We'll be back after this break.
Bowling sure makes me hot and thirsty.
This is a job for Kool-Aid. Hey, Kool-Aid!
Oh, yeah! Kool-Aid's here, bringing you fun. Kool-Aid's got thirst on the run. Get a big, wide, happy ear to ear. Kool-Aid smile, cause the biggest smile is a Kool-Aid smile. A Kool-Aid smile, a Kool-Aid smile. Dun-dun.
Your friend's cool.
My friend's Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid brand soft drink.
New from K-Tel Records, 22 explosive hits, 22 original stars, gallery.
Oh, it's so nice to be with you.
The great Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, the Candyman can.
Olivia Newton-John.
If not for you.
Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds.
Don't pour your love out on me.
Derek and the Dominoes' big hit, Layla. Osmonds, Detroit Emeralds, Millie Jackson, Flash, April Wine, Charlites, Pop Tops, Fortune.
Here comes that rainy day, feeling again.
Joe Simon.
You got power in your kiss.
Lobo.
Possible man.
Hot Butters, Popcorn. And many more. Get K-Tel's 22 explosive hits now. 22 original stars and one great stereo LP. Only $3.99.
WBHF.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
When it comes to shows about movies and comic books, heroes and crazy news, I tune into BK on the air from 10 to noon Saturdays.
Well, that's right. We're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. And a lot of anniversaries this week. We talked about Shazam, the television show. My buddy Michael Gray, who played Billy Batson on the original Shazam Saturday morning Filmation show that came on, where he's turned into Captain Marvel, rode around in the camper with Mentor, premiered this week. I think Land of the Lost, another live-action television show, premiered this week. We talked about Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek, the animated series, both premiered on September 8th of this month, both on different years. The TV show was 1966, and the animated show was 1974, but it was the same month to date. And a lot of things. We'll do This Day in History coming up here very soon. But we got someone on the line right now, 770-386-1450. BK on the air. Hello, good morning. Who's this?
Hey, what's up there, BK?
Hey, it's Walt into Darkness. Talk about Star Trek. Here's Walt into Darkness. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
Pretty good, man. Are you taking a break from appearing on other podcasts and whatnot?
Yeah, just taking a quick hiatus, and I kind of feel like that missing old man that wandered into his own press conference.
His own press conference?
I haven't been in the studio there since, like January or February.
That's funny. Wouldn't that be funny to do? I think if I was lost and I could wander in my own press conference, I think that would be funny. Nice.
That would be awesome. And I love Alan's allusion to that meme of Homer Simpson backing out.
Yeah.
That would
fit perfectly. Well, I think I know what you're calling to talk about. A television show that we all know and love, which was actually groundbreaking at the time for science fiction, made its premiere this week, and it's one of my, if not the favorite television show of all time for me, because of the way the show was done, the way it was written, with the seriousness and the respect that it was given. You know, you can argue a little bit about the special effects today, but I don't do that because I remember when things come out and what they were capable of doing at the time, and I think they did the best they had with what they had, the best they did with what they had. You're calling to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk a lot about, hey, what's the best sci-fi, or in my mind, Star Trek is the greatest sci-fi epic ever, and there were 13 movies, and it has so many spin-offs and episodes. I mean, it's a great universe that Gene Roddenberry built, and he left a great legacy for the fans. And so to celebrate it is really an amazing thing, how it just crosses ethnic lines and political barriers and all kinds of stuff to bring that fan universe together.
Well, there's never an excuse for me to watch Star Trek. I don't need an excuse to watch it. But even more so here lately, since it was the anniversary, I picked and chose. I didn't do them in order because I know them all left and right, back and forth, sideways and diagonally. I picked out some of my favorite episodes and some more that I hadn't seen in a while. And I watched some from about on and off all week this week at night. I just grabbed one and off Amazon Prime and watched them. And they're the remastered versions. They have the new CGI effects, which isn't too distracting as bad as I thought it was. Because you get so used to seeing one certain shot of the Enterprise, and you see something else inserted, it kind of takes you off guard after seeing it one way for so long. But it never distracted from the story or took anything away. Because even when they replaced the special effects shots of the Enterprise in the show, they almost put in the same angle as it was moving. It's just a updated shot of it,
right,
which is fine. But they did augment a lot of backgrounds, especially on Vulcan in a mock time when they go back to Vulcan and you see a giant shot of Vulcan in the background when they're walking and they're like miles away and you see how far they are. Doing little things like that, I guess, is okay, which just helped enhance it. But what they didn't change, though, was the meaning, the story, the camaraderie between those characters, especially between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Say what you want about Star Trek. You can't throw Star Trek into the same mix with Lost in Space and other shows at the time, because other sci-fi movies were just kind of television shows. They were what they were. They were what they were. They were funny. They were goofy. They were, especially Lost in Space had its tongue-in-cheek campiness. Star Trek had a little of that, but Star Trek was much more serious and much more tried to be scientifically accurate. I think you'd agree.
Well, when you look at the science that's inspired since then, that's really incredible. And I think that I have to agree with you. You could almost take the script from something like Amok Time or Mirror Mirror or City on the Edge of Forever and reshoot those today with current actors and end up with as great an episode now with modern special effects as you had then. Because the stories were so good, the interplay between the characters was so awesome, and you just came to love those characters like Spock and Kirk and Dr. McCoy. where you don't always have that with some of the others. Some of the other more campy shows, you enjoyed them, you liked them, but you didn't have the emotional connection, I guess, to the characters. They were a lot deeper. And
yes,
I always appreciated that about Star Trek.
And you had cast that cared about their characters during the run of the show. A writer named Gene Kuhn was one of the guys who was reportedly one of the guys that saved Star Trek a lot. He's the one that gave us Klingons and introduced a lot of the other characters that came in and some of the conflicting drama and the story that were on the show. And when some of those actors like Shatner and Nimoy, they would presented something in a scene to do in the show. They're like, well, wait a minute, this guy's written Spock to do this, and Spock wouldn't do that. He would do this instead, and they got to where they knew their characters that they played, that they would start listening to those actors in a good way back then. And even Leonard Nimoy, there was a scene during a episode, you probably remember The Enemy Within. That was a first season episode where the transporter accidentally split Kirk. Yeah, they accidentally split Kirk in half, made an evil Kirk and one good Kirk. Actually, it took away his evil side and made it a separate life form, and he found out that he couldn't survive without that anger part of him, just one way or the other. He's too violent one way, but he's too passive the other way. And the evil Kirk had the good Kirk in engineering at phaser point and was about to kill him. Well, Spock, in the script, it said Spock sneaks up behind Kirk, the bad Kirk, and hits him over the head with the butt of his phaser and knocks him out. Well, Leonard Nimoy goes, well, I don't think Spock would do something like that. Why don't we give Spock something interesting he could do? Like maybe, I've come up with this cool thing where Vulcans can pinch the necks of other people and drop them unconscious. It's just a power they have through their fingertips, through electrical impulses or whatever. Can we do that? And that was the first episode the Spock Vulcan neck pinch was used. And how much more cool is that than hitting it over the head with a phaser?
That would really come in handy. I wish I had that ability.
And Leonard Nimoy said it kept him from running around and mussing his hair up and knocking his ears off and getting into fight scenes, too. So,
well, I got to tell you, I've come close to trying to perfect the Vulcan nerve pinch with my girls.
It is painless, I hear. I hear you're very rested when you come back. Well, thanks, Walt, for checking in. We're going to go to a break now. Star Trek's anniversary. It's a great show, and I know you loved it. You've been in a Star Trek movie, and you got a big association with it. Always good to hear from you, buddy, as always.
Yeah, you two guys. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Live long and prosper.
Okay,
bye. Walt into Darkness, talking about Star Trek. He's the only one out of all of us that's been in a Star Trek film. Don't you hate that? I love it for him, but I hate it.
In a Hollywood movie.
It's great, isn't it? I love that.
For you parents who don't speak Klingonese, he's saying, people of Earth, unite and bring your kids to McDonald's for a Star Trek meal. That's a regular hamburger, fries, soft drink, a McDonald and cookie sampler, and a Star Trek prize. Oh, yes, 5 different boxes based on Star Trek the Motion Picture. Action scenes, jokes, games. He says, take it from a father who knows. His kids love him. McDonald's Star Trek meal available for your kids now.
This portion of Star Trek is brought to you by RCA Victor. When you're first in color TV, there's got to be a reason. And by Pepsi-Cola, taste that beats the others cold. And by Geritol, the high-potency Vitamin Plus Iron Tonic that helps you feel stronger fast.
If I were human, I believe my response would be, go to hell.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here. Let's do a little On This Day in History today. It's September the 12th. On this day, 1959, Bonanza premieres on NBC television. Way back in 1959. It's another one of those westerns that my dad watched. If you had to pick your favorite Western television show, did you have one that you liked? Because I've got one. I know which one I like the best if I had to pick one. And one I picked reminds me of Star Trek, believe it or not, the way the characters are.
Here's the thing. When those were all in rerun, I don't know if we just didn't get them or my dad didn't watch them.
You just didn't see them?
So I remember the names, but I don't remember seeing any of them.
I liked Gunsmoke. And I didn't watch a lot of Westerns, but Gunsmoke I liked for some reason. 1964, film that started the spaghetti Westerns, A Fistful of Dollars, premiered on this day in history, September the 12th. 1966, The Monkees premiered on NBC TV. I told you I got to get through these because it's a long day in history today. 1970, supersonic airliner Concorde lands for the first time at Heathrow Airport. in 1970 is when that happened. Also, 1970, Josie and the Pussycats animated Hanna-Barbera television show premiered. 1978, on this day, situation comedy Taxi premieres on ABC television. Listen to all these TV shows. 1981, Tra-la-la-la-la-la, sing a happy song.
Smurfs.
Cartoon that I hated with every fiber of my being, the Smurfs. First broadcast in 1981 on NBC by Hanna-Barbera. 1992, Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates himself, passed away on this date in 1992. 2003, Johnny Cash passed away on this date at 71. And in 2012, on September 12th, 2012, on this day, Apple unveils its iPhone 5 and iOS 6 on this day. I think the first iPhone I had was a 5. I didn't start with anything lower than that. And I went from a BlackBerry phone to an iPhone 5, which is a big jump. And then I went from an iPhone 5 to an iPhone 8, which was a big jump. So I wait a few years before I get the new ones because I just have to do that because I work in radio. I don't have any money. On birthdays today. Today is Desmond Llewellyn's birthday, a Welsh actor. You might go, oh, wait, I recognize that name. Who was Desmond Llewellyn?
He has a Bond connection.
That's right. He was Q. That's right. He passed away in 1999. Today's George.
Be serious, James.
Grow up, 007.
007.
George Jones, country singer, died in 2013. He was born on this day. Sir Ian Holm. It's his birthday today. We just lost him this year.
We did.
In 2020 from Alien,
Bilbo
Lord of the
Baggins.
Rings, King Lear. The guy had a big body of work, and we talked about it. Linda Gray's birthday today. American actress. She played Sue Ellen on Dallas, the ever-suffering wife of J.R., who was always taking his abuse. Today is Barry White's birthday. Yeah. Died in 2003. Today, also, Alan, I know Alan will appreciate this, drummer and primary lyricist of Rush, Neil Peart's birthday is today.
Yeah.
Is, well, Neil Peart. And another music guy today, music composer, film composer, German film composer, Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer.
Birthday is today.
I show you how to make music.
Well, so
you will like it.
Number one on the Billboard chart. We'll stick with 1978 because that's when Taxi premiered on television. A little earlier, we were talking about it. Boogie Oogie Oogie by A Taste of Honey was number one on the charts today. And what do you think the number one movie in 1978 on this day, September 12th, was in 78? And I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Superman, because I don't think Superman had hit the money making as of yet. What movie was number one right now in 78? There was a musical. I'll give you that much.
Ooh, 78 musical?
Yeah. It's not
was
Saturday
it
Night Fever.
Fiddler on the Roof?
Nope, not Fiddler on the Roof. That's a good guess, though. Think back into the late 50s, early 60s.
So was it when... Oh, is this when...
it was set.
Okay, so this was what Spielberg's remaking?
No.
No, okay.
Nope.
Dang it! 50s and 60s. Okay, no idea.
And I'll give you a hint. Today,
Grease?
Yes, today. Today is my lovely Mrs. BK's birthday, and I am hopelessly devoted to her.
Aww.
That would be the...
But you know she died on the beach.
Sandy. Yeah,
Sandy.
She did die.
She drowned.
That's the theory. So
she drowned.
The whole movie's a dream. Or her
John Travolta was the face of the lifeguard trying to resuscitate her.
That's the last thing she remembers.
She invented an entire life.
If only a shark had been involved, that would have been even better. You know what's funny?
Then it
about
would have been a
Grace?
Happy Days episode.
I'm going to get so much. I'm going to get mail about this. I don't even want to. Should I say this? Grease has not aged. You know how movies don't age well?
Mm-hmm.
When I try to watch Grease now, I just go, it's hard for me to do it now. I'm not as into it as I used to be. It's one of those movies where I can't really watch a lot anymore. And I don't know why. Please don't get mad at me, anybody. And someone's going to write me an email going, I can't believe you dissed Grease on, I can't believe it's a great movie. I'm like, didn't say it wasn't a great movie. I just can't watch it anymore. I think I watched it so many times I can't really get into it. Today is National Video Games Day.
Okay, I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Isn't that awesome? Well, why don't you do this while you do it? It's National Chocolate Milkshake Day, too.
Awesome.
And it could be, wouldn't it be cool?
I saw that online.
Wouldn't it be cool if it was National Daughters Bring You a Coffee from Starbucks Day? Because that's what you got waiting on you right now. Yes, it is those two national days today. So play a video game today and have a chocolate milkshake while you play your video game. 770-386-1450. It's BK on the air. Give us a call and talk to us. Somebody's on the line right now and wants to talk. Hey, it's BK on the air. Who's this?
Hello, Barry. It's Eric.
Hey, Eric. How you doing, man, on this beautiful September the 12th?
I need to correct myself for last week.
Yeah, I was going to put that out there and give you the opportunity to call in and do that, because not only did we have you call in last week and tell us that Bob Newhart had passed away, we had another caller call in before the show was over to tell us Bob Newhart had passed away. So now you're calling in to correct it. What do you need to correct, Eric?
Yeah, but see, you've been picking on me all week for this.
How all week? I'm not on the air all week.
You posted on my Facebook all week.
Well, I put one post on there. Is that all week or is just one post?
Two?
Did I do two? Okay, 2 is 7 days. Okay.
And then in the podcast, at the end of the podcast,
right,
I listened to the whole thing.
And you heard my Bob Newhart tribute at the end after the podcast was over?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, well, good. I just want to make sure everyone knew that Bob Newhart was still alive and well. I found it very funny.
Hey, Eric, you have to keep in mind, everything in context. It all just depends.
Yeah.
And when Alan says that, he's not talking about adult diapers.
It depends how you do it, Barry.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But believe it or not, do you or do you not call in and correct me and call me out when I get something wrong? That's all I did. But hey, let's agree on this. Let's agree that we're glad Bob Newhart's still alive. That's a good thing.
Oh, yes. And speaking of which, you issued a challenge to watch On Our Majesty's Secret Service.
Yes, I did.
Watched it.
Okay.
I enjoy it.
Good.
I didn't enjoy it at first because I'm a Bond fan, but I didn't like it at first. But
right.
I understand it now.
Good. It's a great story.
Great might be a stretch.
It's a great story, but leave Lazenby out of it.
Right. Well, there's no way to. I mean, but give them time. If there's a way that they can CGI George Lazenby out of that movie later on, or deep fake Sean Connery's voice,
Sean Connery
or his voice and his face on it, don't give them any ammunition. They could do that.
See, I got the whole Bond thing on Blu-ray.
Issues under control.
Right. Great score too, by John Barry. One of the best soundtracks they ever did.
You need to get your little issues under control.
But I think it's great. Wouldn't it have been funny if Bob Newhart had been the villain, though?
That's just wrong, man.
I know that's wrong. I had to throw it out there. Well, I'm glad you called in and corrected it. It's okay. It's all right to be wrong.
Get your issues under control.
It's always
your issues under control.
It's okay to be wrong, right? It is.
All right.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
I think Eric's got a comedy bit going on. It starts off with depends and keeps coming back to you about control and keeping control and don't lose your control.
Wait, I get it. So, yeah. Well, it's good that he called. Maybe the other caller wants to call and correct, because they said that, hey, I heard Bob Newhart died a couple years ago.
Did you see the look you and I both get like, wait a minute, hold on.
Did.
I'm like, he's not dead. You're like, no, he's not dead. I'm like, is he?
Yeah, but then we started looking at each other like, have we massively messed up here? Or what?
And I looked at I can't find it.
And we're a news, or we do have that resources of news here at WBHF because we're tied into Fox News and a lot of other, Georgia News Network. And we looked and looked and looked, and we're like, he is not dead.
I can't find it.
If we're wrong, then all of them are
Either
wrong.
That's his best practical joke he's played so far.
What a practical joke that would be to play on something.
Listen, when I die, you can't say anything for about 2 weeks.
Right.
And then when people start saying, no, he died. Like, no, it's his birthday. No, he died. No, it's his birthday. Well, which is it? That's the greatest joke I played.
See, they still think Elvis is doing that to people. It's like, Elvis is not dead. He works at a tractor-trailer gas station in El Dorado, pumping gas somewhere still to this day.
Remember in Ghostbusters? We feel like only you can answer this, so we're going to ask, how was Elvis? And have you talked to him lately?
And Dan
Aykroyd's just like, what?
Also, didn't Men in Black do one too? They're like, Elvis didn't die, he just went home.
He went back to his planet. Right. He was an alien.
That's right. He just went home. So, yeah. So 770-386-1450. You can call just like Eric did, and we're glad Bob Newhart is still alive. I did put something because when the show goes off during Saturday at noon, I do turn it into the podcast. I change a lot of things. I add a lot of things. So if you hear the show every Saturday live, you haven't really heard it until you listen to the podcast, BK Escape Pod out there. You can hear it on. Where can you hear it? You can hear it on SoundCloud, the YouTube channel, and on Anchor FM. I actually took it off Podbean because Podbean became kind of a pain, and it was redundant with a lot of other things, so that it's still available out there on 3 different platforms. But I add things, and I added a whole segment at the end due to our Bob Newhart incident last week. I put the whole thing at the end of where there was an awards ceremony where Ben Stiller has a little wax figure of Lucille Ball and some other TV show people that have been gone for years. And he's like, and here's Lucy, and it's a wax figure of her on stage, and she was great in comedy and whatnot. And he goes, and now here's Bob Newhart, and it's not a statue of Bob. He's just standing there, not moving. And he's like, he's insinuating that Bob has died.
Right.
And Bob's like, why are you talking about me like I'm dead? And it was the perfect thing to play to end the podcast.
You know, I know a lot of people didn't get into Big Bang Theory, but whenever Bob Newhart was showing up as part of the dream as a Jedi Master for, oh my gosh, the guy that's the brain of the group,
for Sheldon.
Yeah, always funny. He's always like, why are you dreaming of me now? What? You know, it's almost like he realized I don't want to be here.
Right. He had another great role on some TV TNT movies made for cable. Did you ever see with Noel Weil named The Librarian?
Yeah.
He played one of the guys that was basically the Q of the group that sent him on his artifacts seeking thing.
They did a couple of those librarian movies,
and they did a TV series too for a while, which was
Librarian.
The Librarian, which we were big fans of. So Bob Newhart had a great role in the library. It was him and Jane Curtin that sent him on his quests and whatnot. It's BK on the air. We're going to take a break here and we'll come up back creeping up. It's BK on the air.
I'm Louis, the lifeguard, and happy to say I rescued a drowning potato today. They drowned it in sour cream. Oh, what a shame, 'cause food's so much better when it's practically plain. So don't drown your food in mayo, salt, ketchup, or goop. Yuck! It's no fun to eat, but you can't even see. So don't drown your food.
You are listening to BK on the Air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online on the Tunein radio app. Now, back to a guy who'll make you feel really young, mostly because he's so old. It's BK on the Air.
Hey, speaking of, we got a little Star Wars music playing there. No Star Wars report today, but Channel Star Wars. But the Mandalorian Season 2 had some photo previews, and the latest, I think, Empire Magazine came out. So everything is starting to come back together. Movies are being made. We talked about this. TV shows have started to come back, and things are on their way back.
Is that sneak peek Mandalorian trailer for real, or is that a
the one
fan
I watched
fake?
Was fake. You mean the one where he's smoking?
No, the one that shows the Sarlacc pit?
No, I haven't seen that one. I saw a fake one that tricked me at the end because it looked so good, and at the end it showed the Baby Yoda flip someone off and smoking a cigarette. I'm like, you held me to the whole end of that and faked me out.
See,
Thanks a lot.
I don't know. I do know it comes out the 30th.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to its return because it may have been the best thing that's happened to the Star Wars universe since the original trilogy.
It really has. I won't argue with that.
I mean, I do love Rogue One. That's still my favorite off-trilogy story. But I saw a trailer, and it was like the music.
Yeah.
And they showed like a slow pan over desert, and then it like kind of fades out, and comes back, and then you see a pit, and it looks like the Sarlacc pit, and then it stops, and then you see a foot close up land in the frame, and it looks like Boba Fett.
Well, I have heard that Boba Fett is going to make an appearance, and I also have heard in one of those production photos, I think I saw a bantha, the thing the Sand People ride. So I saw one of those. Just like it did in the Star Wars shot, the big horned creatures that they used. They put the things on elephants in the movies to film them. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. So I don't know. They're in the timeline where they could surprise us with a lot of things from the past if they want to. And I'm interested in the dude in the TIE fighter with the black lightsaber. I'm interested in who this guy is and finding out what this guy is.
What's his name? The guy that was
he was in Breaking Bad. He's been in a lot of things, but that's going to be interesting.
He was the latest to bring the forces. He was the latest Moff, right?
Right, one of the Moffs. So we're going to find out. We're going to be able to. It's going to be hard. Thank goodness that one doesn't come out daily.
Right.
All of them at once. I mean, it comes out, once a week?
If they released it all at once, I'd be like, I'm not coming to work until I'm
I know.
done.
I would binge The Mandalorian like crazy. In fact, you'd hear a burning noise that I was watching them so fast. It would burn it up. It would be great. You know what? Wouldn't it be nice? You're a Gene Wilder fan. You do a Gene Wilder podcast called The Wilder Ride, which I've been on a couple of times, which is fantastic. Now y'all are doing the Listener's Lounge, which is great to listen to. Willy Wonka. One of his great films, probably one of his best roles that we love. I think you know where I'm going. There's a way now, and it's not with Willy Wonka or Wonka bars, but you can get a golden ticket that I found out this week, and it's actually from Jelly Belly brand. Mm-hmm. The Jelly Belly founder hides gold tickets in nationwide treasure hunt, and it will give away a candy factory as its grand prize. Wonder where he got that idea from. This is from WSB-TV News, Channel 2 here in Atlanta. David Klein is a modern-day Willy Wonka. They're calling him that. Not really, but he sort of is. The 74-year-old businessman is the founder of Jelly Belly Jelly Beans and wants to share a bit of his sweet life with multiple lucky winners. According to a press release, Klein and his partner have been traveling the U.S. hiding golden-style tickets in the form of necklaces in different places. The places they choose have all become some sort of interesting story that sparked their interest. Each necklace includes a unique code that, when verified, guarantees $5,000 in winnings.
That's good.
People in each state will have a chance to enter a treasure hunt contest to find the special necklaces. Each entry costs $50. After registering for the treasure hunt, participants in each hunt will receive more details about the location of the necklaces and a riddle to help them figure out the hiding spot. The first contest begins in Georgia, September 30th, right here in our own state. Contests in other states include through October and beyond. Everyone who registers for the treasure hunts will be entered to win the grand prize, a candy factory.
Wow.
An all-expenses-paid trip to a candy-making university, and the cost of tuition at the school are also included in the grand prize. Each treasure hunt has a limit of 1,000 participants. While Klein and his business partner sold their share of the Jelly Belly business back in 1980, just 4 years after creating the famed candy, the confectioner maintained some of his candy factories. Klein and his partner agreed to receive $10,000 a month for 20 years in exchange for the Jelly Belly trademark, a decision Klein said he immediately regretted because it cut his candy range short. Klein said the treasure hunt contest is a way to have fun before he retires and to give back to everyone who loves candy and the candy industry as much as he does. You can go to thegoldenticket.com/how-to-play. That's thegoldenticket.com/how-to-play. That's the website that you can go to and check it out. So there's a modern-day Willy Wonka story that can come true for someone. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, I know that you were excited about the end of Willy Wonka as I was, because even as a kid, when I grew up as a little kid, I had curly blonde hair. I had Charlie hair when I was a kid. It was blonde. It looked just like Peter Ostrom, the actor that played him. I looked a lot like that. In fact, that was the nickname I had for a while. And I lost it. I lost the blonde and lost the curls and everything when you get older. Now my hair's a different color, much lighter. So when Charlie
winds your beard.
When he winds up winning the whole kit and caboodle, when he wins the whole hootenanny at the end of Charlie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you just feel so good as a kid because you know what's coming. You've seen the movie a lot when you were a kid, and you're like, he won the whole thing, and he's flying off in the elevator at the end, and it's great, and just giving back the gobstopper saved him from everything.
I never forget that lesson learned from that movie as a kid.
Yeah, it is a lesson.
To this day, if I see like a dollar bill lying on the ground or something, my first thought is there a camera they're going to wait to see? Do I pocket it or turn it in? You know, I'm always in the mode, do you do the right thing?
Right.
You got to do the right thing. And I love how by doing that, the one thing you think, because Grandpa's like, oh, you know what? You're going to treat him like that? Let's go give this to Slugworth. We'll show him.
Right. Let's get him back because he's mean.
Which shows you how adults think differently than kids.
Right. My dad told me in the 70s when we were in a Sears store, he goes, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I want you to remember this. If you act like you are on camera and you're being watched all the time and do the right thing, you're going to be fine. Because you kind of are. Mm-hmm. It may be a bigger camera in the sky that's watching you. Who knows what it is, you know?
Oh, we're on camera now.
But, hey, you know what? Little did he know that there were going to be cameras everywhere later on in life. There's a camera on every street corner.
That was just a lesson for my son. I didn't want to be like, I don't want it on me.
But that shouldn't be the reason that you do the right thing is because you're on camera, but that is one reason to do it. But you should do it because it is the right thing. And I got made fun of a lot as a kid because I was a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout, and I was really into doing the right thing. Even to this day, I gravitate toward the superheroes that are the real good ones. My favorite superheroes are the Captain Americas, the Supermans, the Green Lanterns, superheroes kind of like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Batman's not a good guy, but Batman has a weird side. You have the Punisher, who's more of a he's for law, he's for bringing people to justice, but just bypassing the court system and doing it a different way, and into killing people and stuff. But I'm probably too good for my own good. But when I see Captain America appear on screen in that red, white, and blue and throws the shield and stuff. I don't know. There was something about that hero that struck a nerve in me when I was a kid. We talked earlier on your show today about certain albums and music that took a hold of you and made it your favorite song, album, or group. I was the same when it comes to anything. What is your favorite whatever? Tastes vary from people to people, and I guess that's why I gravitate more toward the superheroes. The ones that I would like to be like. Would I like to take a criminal to jail after he's, slaughtered my family? Yes, I would. Would I be able to? I'm not so sure. I might turn into the Punisher at that point. So I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm as virtuous as Captain America is. So that's kind of gravitate. And I think Willy, the message in Willy Wonka is exactly something like that, what you're talking about. Do the right thing, even if it means it's not the best thing for you. That's not why you do things, right? I didn't think it was.
Right.
Do the right thing. Wasn't there a movie called Do the Right Thing?
Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee.
Now, if I find a bag of money, that's got $1 million in it that maybe fell off a Brinks truck, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go, anybody lose money? Anybody? If nobody says anything, then I'm like, oh, nobody claims it. So.
Did anybody lose $900,000?
Hey, I found $1 million on the side of the road, Brinks.
No, $900,000.
Yeah. No, well, I was going to say, you can have $500,000 back. Or you can have none back. It's your choice. Which is it? I'll keep half of it. You can have the other half.
I'll send you on a treasure hunt.
That's right. You can look for it. It's a golden ticket. It's BK on the air. I look forward to doing Willy Wonka on the podcast. That would be fun. Yeah, BK on the air.
To say that you behave childishly is an insult to children everywhere.
A little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest man.
Are you out of your mind? What are you doing
Will
here?
you just listen to me for a minute?
Jealous. You found out that I was here with Neville and
No,
you said...
I'm not jealous. Listen, Jenny, Bigelow's been murdered.
Murder?
You remember at the studio what I told you about the rocket we found? Well, the people that are looking for it murdered Bigelow to get to me. And now they're after you. They have your picture, the one from the GB. Jenny, prepare yourself for a shock. I'm the Rocketeer.
The Rock of who?
The Rock-a-Who. Jenny doesn't know she hasn't heard the name yet. There's a little clip there from 1991's The Rocketeer. Fantastic Buena Vista Disney movie based on the comic book and the fictional character Dan Stevens created, which was fantastic, about the guy who strapped the rocket onto his back. Who doesn't want to do that? That just sounds fun. What a great design that he had, too. I got a story here. This is from Fox 5 here in Atlanta. From Los Angeles, the FBI investigating pilots report of a guy in a jetpack flying near planes at LAX airport.
Hey, dude!
At Los Angeles. Yeah. It's the Rocketeer. The who? The FBI was investigating an incident that took place near Los Angeles after an American Airlines pilot reported seeing a mystery person in a jetpack flying in the path of an incoming jet. That was over a week ago. The American Airlines pilot reported via radio to the control tower seeing a guy in a jetpack, his words, as he approached about 3,000 feet and 10 miles out for a landing. I've been into LAX, too. It's an interesting airport area out there. A second pilot also saw the incident. The pilot's reporting it using visual flight rules, meaning there was plenty of visibility and it wasn't dark at the time. Now, based on the research, jetpacks can't fly that high, but it's pretty uncommon. They can fly that high, but it's pretty uncommon that's too high for them. There's an assumption that people with the technical and the financial ability to fly at this extreme height and near an airport would also understand the regulations. There's a few of those around flying in LAX's flight path, because that's a rather busy airport out there. One theory suggests that the incident could be an internet or social media stunt, which in LA, let's face it, in LA, of course, no one has ever come forward to say that they were flying a jetpack, and normally the promotions of fun videos we've seen of them are much lower than that in the sky, aimed at vacationers or thrill seekers who blast off with a pack attached to their back for a few seconds of low-level flight. Efforts to find out more from the pilot went nowhere, and representatives from American Airlines told Fox 11 in L.A. to contact the FAA. The FAA said they turned the report over to the LAPD for investigations. T.J. Hooker take care of it, possibly trying to locate the person via a helicopter or ground patrol. The LAPD says they perform a flyover of the area, but were not able to locate anyone that matched that description. the description of the Rocket Man. Two retired pilots who currently teach and consult on aviation safety say they would absolutely believe that the pilot they would believe the pilot in that situation, given their trained eyes and visual awareness. Yeah, you have to have pretty good eyes guys to be a pilot. So what they saw, it was a kind of rocket pack. I would tend to believe that that's what it was. The pilot estimated the jetpack was only about 300 yards out from his window. Now, in the air, that's too close for anything.
Wow.
It's getting close to air traffic control collision time.
That's crazy.
That's scary. So who's doing it? Why would
Someone's got a jetpack in L.A.
And they're going rogue. They're not adhering to rules and regulations and whatnot.
That's
so,
nuts.
That is nuts. So look out for that.
It's a lot of nuts.
I'm thinking it's going to be The Rock-a-Who. I think it's going to be which I love, by the way. The Rocketeer was a fantastic film. I thought it was great. Great James Horner score. Great early directorial effort by Joe Johnston. Fantastic director too, Star Wars alum. And actually, you have a story over there too. We haven't done one of these in a while. Let's do this. And go to Alan Sanders for a little blast in the past story here about a show.
A show I thought was already dead. No, I know it's not dead, but I knew its death knell had sounded. Well, it's official. Expanded 11th season to be the end of The Walking Dead. See how I timed that music? Maybe that's a different one. AMC might be killing its zombie apocalypse series after 11 seasons, but 2 spin-offs in the works could certainly help die-hard fans cope with the loss. Showrunners announced Wednesday that the long-running series will end in 2022, but 31 episodes, including the COVID-19 delayed October 4th Season 10 finale, will air in the interim. So that was from Entertainment Weekly. According to the entertainment news site, 6 Season 10 bonus episodes are slated to run in early 2021, followed by the first 12 episodes of Season 11 before the close of next year. Now, the final 12 episodes will air as is expected in 2022. An untitled spinoff focused on Norman Reedus' character Daryl Dixon and Melissa McBride from Georgia. Melissa McBride's Carol Peltier will premiere the following year, and an episodic anthology called Tales of the Walking Dead is in development by AMC, and the show's chief content officer, Scott M. Gimple, said that is, in fact, in the works. So they may be killing the one season, the one show, and those storylines to create a spin-off, and they've always talked about going and doing movies that might have Rick Grimes return for a couple of movies where it's a 2-hour Walking Dead episode rather than the grueling schedule of having to go a full season.
So you're still talking about AMC films, not theatrical films.
Right.
They're not going to do it in the theater. Okay.
Right.
Interesting. It's an interesting history of that show, how it started out kind of on a slow burn, and then it reached like fever pitch popularity and viewership and interest and fans.
Everyone was watching it.
Wasn't it weird how it kind of went and then it peaked at the hill and it kind of went downhill again? It was kind of odd to watch it do that. Some shows do that. A lot of them do that.
Season 7 was probably where they kind of screwed up with Negan, and then Season 8, they still had it, and they kept trying to figure out how to recover, and then I stopped watching in Season 9. I was just like, I'm just done. It's just... when you realize, like, every Sunday, Susan and I would be like, oh, my God, Walking Dead.
Walking Dead's going on.
And we had the DVR set, and you're like, oh, we can get caught up because we totally forgot it. We got to the point where we're like, oh, wasn't The Walking Dead
when you're not
on?
excited anymore about it?
It's all right.
Yeah.
You know, this grass blade is growing really nicely over here. It's been kind of keeping my attention.
Don't mow it, though, if you have a house in South, down near Monroe, Georgia, because they don't want you to mow the grass if they're filming down there, The Walking Dead.
That's true.
You couldn't do that.
And then, of course, my wife said, well, you know, I appreciate you looking at the blade of grass, but have you seen the wet paint that's slowly drying here? Because this is really fascinating. Like, I know it is.
Well, isn't it funny how I'm just the opposite when it comes to The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian doesn't release the whole show at once. It releases one episode a week, and I find myself, when The Mandalorian is over and the credits roll, I'm like, oh, it's over. I can't wait for the next one. This is great. That's the earmark of a good show when you feel that way. And I do thank Disney for doing it that way, because there's something to be said about releasing the whole show and you can binge it, and that's fine. But this helps me discipline myself from sitting down and wasting
go out and
6
read a
hours.
book.
If it would be, it'd be a Mandalorian book.
Right.
But yeah, it allows me to.
You know what I think I'm going to do when we
like
get a little closer? I'm going to rewatch season 1. So I'll be ready for season 2.
We've decided to do that, and not that I forgot it. It's just so good. I wouldn't mind watching it again.
Yeah, no, it is good.
And just to
and then
catch up.
I'll give you a series. I don't know if you've watched it yet. I know I've mentioned it on our seasons podcast, but we finished up till season 6 because there's only 6 of the 7. They're working on season 7 right now. But Bosch,
you
based
told me
on the
about
Michael
that
Connelly
show.
books.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
that has been my favorite it's got the ability to hook you like 24 used to.
Right.
You would have a great self-contained 1-hour episode, but they would do something at the very end that you go, I must watch the next.
Right.
And they do it in a way that doesn't feel cheesy or formulaic. It's just like, oh, by the way, we have to continue to tell the story. And
right.
Like, well, yeah, I know you do, so I will watch the next episode.
I haven't latched onto a new show lately. Stacy's watching some new ones. She just got watching. She's watching Umbrella Academy, which she thinks is really nice. And I tried to watch that one, and I'm like, it's kind of X-Men light. And for some reason, I just couldn't get into it. Again, it's a superhero-ish, mutantish type show.
Have you seen The Boys?
I don't like all those shows. I don't like them. I've heard of The Boys too. I've heard about that. So I'm going to watch that one. I heard that one.
Yeah, that takes it in a completely different direction.
Yeah,
that's like, what if superheroes realized I get to do whatever I want?
They have frailties just like everyone else.
Well, frailties, yeah. Let's put it this way. I want to spoil it.
That's kind of what. Isn't that kind of what? What's the one with
DC did? Zack Snyder? Watchmen?
Watchmen. That's kind of what the Watchmen was. They were like no inhibitions. They could just do whatever they want.
Well, you had some
of them were good.
Some were good and some were not. Some realized they had some were the Peter Parkers. With great power comes great responsibility. And it was like, no, with great power comes the ability to do whatever I want.
Take all the money I want and do what I want. Yeah.
I will tell you, if you watch the first 10 minutes of the first episode, if you don't have your jaw on the floor,
I'm not alive.
You're gonna be like, because there's something. I'm like, what did I just watch? What? And I don't want to say anything more than that. Just check out.
I'm
the
looking
first
for something new to watch.
Season 2 dropped.
I've been dipping into a lot of older shows lately. I watched Star Trek here lately because it's been the anniversary. I've been going back, and I have rediscovered Hawaii Five-0. I couldn't believe it. I'm watching the old episodes of Hawaii Five-0 because that's a cop show I didn't watch as a kid, and now I watch it as an adult, and I'm like, I see why this show ran for so long, because number one, it's gritty, it's violent, it's set in Hawaii, and it's just so well done, well written. I know they had a newer show, the new Hawaii Five-0 came on, and I think it's since went off the air. But one of the best theme songs of any show that ever came out. But it's a fantastic show, and I'm looking at these older shows. But if it's a show that I never saw and it's old, to me that's new. If you had a show in the 70s and I never saw it, I'm watching a show I've never seen before. I just have to get over the fact that they're wearing lapels that look like hang gliders and no cell phones
outside
and no computers.
Of their sport coat.
No computers and no things like that. If you can't get by stuff like that, if you can't watch something that's set in the past.
But you know what? You watched Mad Men, and that was a show that was modernly made, but it was telling you about a time when they didn't have that stuff.
Mad Men was a fantastic show. I really got into it. And
I will tell you,
that era.
Check out Bosch. Check out Bosch.
I will. I think I'll check it out.
And The Boys, if you want to have a dark view of comic book characters.
And before we go, right quick, we've just been given the green light for the Halloween Spooktacular.
Yes, we have.
That's come up in October.
6th annual.
Which is fantastic.
And it will take place on a Saturday, so we'll come here Saturday morning, recharge, and come back.
I may just stay in Cartersville, eat lunch, and just hang around and go buy a costume or something.
I'm going to be in rare form because we have the pub crawl that night, too.
We always love it, doing it every Halloween night. It's going to be fun doing the Halloween Spectacular.
Maybe we should repost the 5th one when we get into October as a reminder so people can go back and say,
we need to record a new spot, too.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of there, we'll see you next week. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
See everybody next week.
You know, the gill straps aren't really moving. They're being robbed. These crooks know the gill straps are out of town, so they're trying to move the gill straps permanently. They figure they look like movers, they act like movers, so who's gonna know? The Joneses. They know.
Dad, aren't the gill straps in Toledo?
I think they're being robbed. Should we call the police? Call the police.
See, the Joneses know. If they don't tell the cops now, the gill straps will have to tell them later.
Hello, this is Harry.
Meanwhile, these fellas are eating lunch, about a block away.
21.
Hey, hot pastrami. That looks very good.
35 in progress.
10-4.
Take it easy, huh? How about that? Know what it takes to stop a crime? Your help and your neighbors. Find out more. Write to Box 6600 Rockville, Maryland, and help take a bite out of crime.